Rule 34 artists, what is the weirdest / most concerning commission you've ever gotten? Can you draw women with their bare feet, stuck to the floor with glue? That was my first commission, and I still look back on it like why did I agree? As a Rule 34 artist you either set very clear-cut boundaries about what you're not willing to do, or you say F it, and take everything that comes your way, while never wondering where your next meal is coming from. I've never seen an artist with women with their bare feet, stuck to the floor with glue on their decline list. Yeah, that's the thing. It's better to have a whitelist for than a blacklist. Because otherwise, you'll inevitably get somebody coming to you with the gross you've never even dreamed of. Not an artist, but an author. A few years ago I took commissions for macrophilia stories, basically stories where someone becomes a literal giant, or is shrunken down, and one day I received a message from this incredibly excited gentleman practically begging me to write a story for him about two of his personal friends. This in itself was already creepy and a massive red flag. But what made my skin crawl when the guy sent me actual photos of these people and himself, complete with descriptions about them, what they do, and their names, and the story. He wanted one of them to be a witch who was jealous of his love life and would shrink him down so small that the smell of her feet would make him pass out. Then she would put him in the shoes of the other friend and use her magic to trap him in there so he could suffer in the excruciating smell of his best friend's feet. I'm ashamed to admit I did write it, and it was the last commission I ever wrote for a reason. See, this is why I never tried to write for a living. I knew I couldn't turn down money, and I knew it'd lead somewhere like that. Sorry you had to go through that. 2 things. Used to do video work for this sort of thing. I got so many requests. I used to keep a file of them. Long descriptions of women swallowing people like a python was one. Another being having someone slowly turn into a item of sentient clothing, usually a bra, panties, or shoe. Second thing from a different source, I have a 3D scanner. Someone with an Arabic email was asking me if I could combine scans and do a 3D print at life size. I can in fact do this. He then tells me wants the breasts of Lean Crow on the body of Piper Perry, and that everything should be as they are now, no rescaling. Pretty sure her spine would just snap. I couldn't tell if they were trolling or they actually expected me to be able to book them for this. It's intriguing to me that the sentient clothing one is requested enough to have items that are common. Do a search on DeviantArt for clothing for inanimate TF being transformation. There are tons of them. I had never heard of it before we were asked to shoot stuff like that. I'm thinking it is a weird intersection of being close to what you like, feet whatever, and being completely helpless. My personal take on it was always it would be horror, unable to move or call out, and long periods of mind-numbing insanity inducing boredom. Not related, but the topic makes me think of a guy I met while taking a college sculpture class. I was killing time and taking hours to keep my student loans in deferment while waiting to transfer schools. He was in the class to work more on his 3-dimensional form. He mentions that he is an illustrator and brings in some notebooks one day. All of them were filled with big melon, bubble girls and various levels of NSFW type poses. It was good technique, but all I could think was what is he going to do with this skill? After reading this post, I'm sure he's doing okay. I was listening to a Japanese animator talk about the plight of the animation business in Japan. Basically, you either draw NSFW stuff all day long and are able to afford a decent living, or you work for the big animators on popular anime and live with your parents. He worked on the NSFW stuff for a few years, but said as his talent/fan base grew, the requests gradually got to him, and he had to stop, and now he lives with family as he struggles to make a livable wage. The guy works like 12 hours a day too. There's so many people out there. I have to imagine, being asked to make animated CP just gets to you at a certain point, even with you saying no at every request of that caliber. I'm not an artist, but there's this story that some really weird guy on DeviantArt pays thousands of dollars to commission art of various characters buying Wonder Bread. Nothing overt. No weird stuff, just walking through a bread aisle and buying Wonder Bread. Nobody knows if he has a Wonder Bread or if it's some kind of elaborate joke. All we know is that he pays thousands of dollars for these Wonder Bread images. Edit. It's even weirder than I remembered. Apparently he only commissions white, rich, blonde characters buying entire shopping carts full of Wonder Bread. On occasion he'll also commission a white, rich, blonde character cutting down an entire forest. He doesn't respond to DMs, so don't bother trying to ask him. Not even including the whole thing SMH. He specifically wants rich white blonde women buying Wonder Bread and sometimes cutting down forests with a chainsaw. One of his comms was of Pacifica Northwest from Gravity Falls. Like destroying forests to build Wonder Bread factories isn't NSFW, I don't think, but like that really unnerved me to see. At first I couldn't think of anything to share here, but reading through some of the stories told here, I was reminded of one instance. I'm an artist. I mostly get commissions for and monster girl stuff, which is the sort of thing I like drawing. But one time someone asked me if I could draw a genderbant Robert Ely. I declined. Why did you decline? To keep things simple, I basically decided it would be best and easiest to keep the subjects of my pieces to fictional characters, unless the subject gave their consent. For instance, a draw me in your style type commission. Additionally, and maybe I'm just paranoid, I felt like drawing historical figures for Rule 34 type things may open a can of worms to some drama that I'd rather avoid. So when I was in college myself, and a friend had some ongoing Les Miserables fanfiction collaboration stories going on AO3. Nothing posted at all. Welp, I get a PM. My friend did not. I don't know why I specifically got the message asking to commission a Lemis writing piece. And at first I consider it until the person starts describing what they want and how they'd like at least 3,000 words of Javet being with a bayonet. They offered me $20. I said no. Edit. Geez, never expected one of my most upvoted Reddit comments to be about Javet Gore. I didn't write. I have had two vastly different fanfiction experiences in the last couple of years. I had someone review a fic, so I replied back, and we started talking about the series and which characters they did not like. They were pleased to find someone who disliked the same characters as them, and asked if I wanted to co-write their fic where said characters became prisoners of war and used as slaves. It got to the point of me saying something to the effect of, "Sorry, I don't have time to co-write, bye," and not responding. In the other, I had a very sweet comment on a fic I wrote about a pairing along the lines of, "This pairing is so cute and sweet, hardly anyone does it. I hope you write more, and maybe even lemon." I have never written anything. I've tried, never happy with it, so I delete it. But the review was so polite. I'm not an artist, but an author, and I've had some deliciously weird commissions over the years, some of which I've taken, others I haven't. One guy who wrote me a very lovely and extremely polite email asking if I'd write him a story about a dude being sounded by a Hot Wheels car. If you don't know what sounding is, you're probably better off not knowing. He wanted the first half of the story to be about his expanding as it engulfed the little car, which is fine, but not really in my creative wheelhouse. But the second half of the story was supposed to be about the tiny little wing mirrors absolutely shredding his urethra. That's when I bailed. One guy asked if I took photo prompts and then just sent me a photo of a chair. I had to clarify to see if he really wanted me to write a story about some dude in a chair, or if it was supposed to be some sort of invisible woman, or if there was something in it I'd missed. Nope. It was just a chair. It turned out that he'd read my other stuff and just wanted to see what I'd come up with, which was nice. I wrote a pretty little dom/sub scene about a woman bending over a chair to get a spanking. I don't do work, generally, but I had someone ask me to write them a scene with someone being off by the talons of an anthropomorphic eagle. I pointed out that that would technically be a scene, and he never replied to me. I assume because, while he was fine with the concept of to a half woman half eagle, the discovery that he might actually have a foot was just one step too far. I used to make videos for PH before the great video purge a while ago, but the amount of requests that come in for gore and death are too damn high. I use the H-game Koikatsu to make mostly popular anime and video game characters, then make saucy scenes for the good community of PH. Most of my content was pretty vanilla, regular, times just insert favorite character, but every week I'd get requests for some people's favorite characters. Boo, they want them harmed or worse. And I'd never respond to those requests, lol. My account was Cinderfalks on PH, but since the purge on that site wiped out half my videos and PH never responded to my claims, I haven't made any videos since. Keep telling myself to try a different platform, but haven't tried yet. And another annoyance that I got in every video is people asking what game engine I used. I put the game engine in the bloody title of every one of my videos, XD lol. Reminds me of when I tried to make a YouTube channel, had fun the first few vids, started giving myself a rigorous schedule of one video a week, which was difficult since I was a one-man band. Started cutting parts from videos due to time constraints, sloppier scripts and rushed video ideas. Eventually realized I hated almost every aspect of making videos at one point. Took a break, and it's been like 2 years or mayo. I keep telling myself I'm gonna start making videos again at some point and just take my time doing it to avoid burnout, but I just don't want to anymore lol. Maybe someday. I feel that very much. It's crazy. I have a YouTube channel, completely separate from my PH stuff, and its highest viewed video is just a bit over 1,000. My highest viewed PH video? Just about to hit 1 million. People want that saucy content, I guess. So this commission wasn't even going to be paid in money, just deviant at points, but this guy wanted a GIF animation cute cowboy coyote firing a gun, but he wanted her to have big would jiggle from the recoil, and then he wanted me to animate another cute canine who was a pop star dancing on stage and shirtless, her dancing all over the place. Like, I'm not opposed to, but if you're going to be requesting that, at least pay actual money. Both of these canines still had heavily animal heads, not even hair. There was something that wasn't even a commission, because the freak wanted it for free, but he wanted me to draw his and unless you're paying me over $100, I'm not drawing. I was asked to draw a comic page, which would have been my first commission of that type, so I was a bit hype about it. 8 panels. The commissioner said he would send me the script. He does. I start reading the script. It's basically all the hype down. I bailed on it, explaining that I do not draw that stuff. Commissioner then asks if I could do a drawing involving. Bailed one more time, also politely. Certainly not as wild as some examples I've read in this thread, but considering I rarely get commissions, this was very big for me. I'm interested in experimenting with my drawings, but hard limits are hard limits, which meant I'll let go a considerable commission payment. Anything with underage characters should be an immediate nope. Good on you for declining it, and sorry you had to read through that guy's script. About a year ago, I had a request to make some artwork about a children's show. It wasn't until later that I discovered what they actually wanted to commission me for. At first I thought it was some kind of fluff or ship dynamic. They did not specify if it was R34 or not. Along the way the client began spiraling into the true intentions for this drawing. Reminder, this is a show meant for kids, and I eventually turned him down, because I kid you not he sounded like a. He didn't want me to age them up or anything of the sort, just 2 child characters. He said, and I quote, make sure they look happy while doing it, so it looks consensual. I politely declined after a bit of reasoning, and he eventually stopped contacting me. His account got banned for child p***rn a little while later. What the is wrong with people, I wonder? One of the great mysteries of the internet. I think we, society, should start asking the question of what happened to that person in the past that brought them to the strange spot they are now. Instead of having the more common reaction of, man, that person is into some weird. They are really up. Because, I'm not psychologist, but I'm pretty sure behaviors such as this aren't natural. Usually it is learned/copied, or it is a byproduct of extreme trauma. Unchecked trauma more specifically. NSFW artist/writer here. Hello. Most commissions are great, 99% are really pleasant, and, frankly, very cute and entertaining to create. People are always polite and almost always think their kink is more unusual or rare than it really is. Usually they commission in a fairly simple situation. Sometimes it's a famous character. My favorite commissions are where a person has me draw their partner's character as a gift. They usually send me messages afterwards to let me know how well it was received. The most unique I've gotten was a request that was several pages long, it all detailing each specific piece of the scene. I'll keep the details brief because I don't want to go calling out the person who did commission it. If anything, they know exactly what they like, and it isn't hurting anyone, so more power to them. They have crafted their perfect fantasy, and I respect the heck out of that. This commission involved several characters from different, well-known shows lost in ecstasy, their faces full of ego. During this, their bodies would be impregnated, while at the same time, additionally, they would be bleeding and having alien eggs deposited into them. I'll leave it to your imagination to figure out which orifice/organ was doing what. Not an artist, but an author. I write smut, usually for fun, but sometimes for money. I got one commission request for a transformation story. Okay, not bad, I've done it before. Usually TF stories are about someone turning into something like werewolves, or a griffin, or dragon, or whatnot. Not this guy. He wanted a story about a female character turning into a shoe and being worn around and by someone else. Had to turn them down. Also lots of requests for stories about in various forms, though I explicitly state on the sites where I write that I will not do stories. I know someone who is into that, and from what I can tell it's just a really weird expression of a control. I make weird, disgusting, disturbing photoshopped images. Monsters, worms, stuff that's not physically possible, etc. Started out as a personal thing, but has since bloomed into a small but dedicated fan base. It's not anything I'm ashamed of, and I'd never shame my clients/fans for what they're into. God knows my own interests are weird enough. That said, I get a lot of requests from people who want a picture of them self-made. It's blatantly obvious that the people making the requests are not the ones in the photos, and that they're trying to get made of people they know without those people's knowledge. That's a big no-no for me. Just feels wrong to do that to someone. That and people from countries with lower ages for ahem doing stuff asking for younger models. Not gonna happen. Screw the law where they live. Even a person as messed up as me thinks that's disgusting. General question. I want to learn drawing. I watched some tutorials and stuff and draw on daily basis. I'm really bad right now, but I try to become better. The question. How hard is it to get into the scene? Do you just set up a homepage and write I draw stuff for money on it? I don't draw NSFW, however I think you should really just get out there, show off your art and yeah, tell people that you do NSFW. Thanks for your answer. But, what do you mean with get out there? I don't think you mean like get out on the street and scream I draw. Like get out on Facebook groups or Reddit places? Oh sorry. Instagram, Etsy, DeviantArt, Reddit, too, for stuff. And Newgrounds exist too. I don't draw, but try DeviantArt. You could also try googling around for the type of stuff you are willing to draw and see what pops up. Tumblr might still be an option if you censor stuff. I still see censored stuff on there and occasionally very not censored stuff that is still managing to hang around. Twitter might also work. I know lots of people who used to do stuff on Tumblr moved over to Twitter. I write WLW fanfictions for fun, and sometimes I do little requests for one-off stories. The most concerning request I received involved. I know some writers who'll write stories involving that, and I find that gross. I've written about characters dealing with and overcoming trauma, but writing the trauma itself feels like you're glorifying the idea of it. The weirdest request was a one-off story featuring Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy, who are by far the two characters I've written about the most. I've been writing fanfics about them since I was in high school. The request was for Harley helping Ivy recover from a serious injury she obtained in a fight. The injury was that she got decapitated, but due to her plant-like anatomy, her head survived, and Harley had to carry her around and help her with a lot of basic things. There was a little of a humiliation aspect to it, and there was a scene, but I actually like the whole story, which isn't always the case with requests. The dynamic of Harley going above and beyond to help Ivy with all the basic things she couldn't do anymore was really sweet. If I ever do a deceased style zombie apocalypse thing, I want to make Harley and Ivy go full lollipop chainsaw and have Ivy manipulating plants in a sling or hanging from Harley's belt while she's fighting zombies. Oh boy. Okay, I have painted a lot over the years because that is where the money is. I have always stood by my no underage people rule, which, I'm not gonna lie, has lost me more than a fair share of customers. I once had a man from France contact me to commission some paintings. The first subjects he sent were young anime girls in their underwear and were obviously no older than 12. I thanked him for his time and interest, attached the link to our FAQ, and told him we did not do child. He almost immediately wrote back defending them, saying they were actually demons and thousands of years old, so it didn't count as children. I told him I'd be happy to paint a demon form, but a 12-year-old girl in nothing but panties was never going to happen, and Tree was wasting both of our time. I really just wanted him to this point. Then a few hours later I get another email with another character reference attached, and this time it is actually an adult woman. NGL, I quoted him double the price it should have been, and he was happy to pay it. My master plan had failed me, but I has $500 as a consolation prize. This man messaged every other day asking for update and photos. About the middle of the first week he asked, could he make a possibly odd request? Could I do the painting in nothing but a thong? I assumed he wanted the character in one. I told him that would be easy as she was on a layer of acetate and her clothes were on a separate layer. He wanted them like that he could dress and undress her. He shot back with no, can you wear a thong while painting her? I'll pay extra for pictures. I respectfully turned him down and spent the next week working around the clock getting this painting done so it would be out of my house. About 2 days before I finished it, he stopped messaging constantly. I was so relieved I didn't even care. I thought maybe he had a new artist to hassle. When the painting was done it took photos and emailed to him to see if he wanted any changes. Nothing but crickets. So a few days later I did a follow-up to see if he got the images. Still no response. For 6 months I emailed him once a week, and after that for another 6 months once a month. He just vanished. I kept the painting for years just in case he ever responded, because $500 is a lot to drop on a painting, but I never got a response. It was like he just disappeared. This is the end of the video. Thank you guys for staying with me till the end. If you enjoyed watching this, you might as well watch these too.